Good morning, my awesome people. So, today's message is the cure for a mistaken identity is to remember who you are. This is going to be very personal for me today, and it is something that is difficult for me to talk about, and it's not intended to hurt anyone. It's just a moment of transparency because I know that there's a lot of people that deal with what I deal with, or dealt with, I should say, because I'm okay now. So if you are in a space where you don't even know who you are because you never had a chance to know who you are, whether it be because people told you who you were and you believed the lies and never had that opportunity to figure it out on your own, or it was in a sense of what I dealt with growing up, and that was a cultural identity, meaning I didn't know who I was because I didn't know the fullness of who I was. So, as many of you know now, I am mixed. Okay, so my mother is Caucasian, mostly European and Mediterranean areas. Now we've actually been able to confirm that with all the DNA testing. We both did several DNA tests. And then, as far as my father's side, most of my family still lives in Puerto Rico. Not all of them, but a good majority of them. And then others that live here in the States just live in different locations. So I didn't get to grow up with my dad or my dad's family or understand anything culturally about the Puerto Rican side, which now I know, again, through DNA, is mostly indigenous, which we call Native American very commonly, and Spanish, Portuguese, and of course African. And for those who don't know, yes, I have sickle cell, which for a lot of people, especially doctors growing up, even when I was a young adult, they were like, sickle cell, and I would always have to explain that I'm mixed. So growing up, the truth is, and again, this is not to hurt anybody, it's just the truth to help somebody else. I grew up in a very racist white community. There were things that I heard growing up that caused me to have a very deep, I wouldn't call it quite hatred, but I felt a certain way that was deeply angered around a lot of Caucasians because of the things that I heard growing up. So I made it my point as a young girl in middle school to learn Spanish because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to learn it from my Puerto Rican side of my family. So I had to learn Spanish on my own, and then eventually became a Spanish teacher and a special needs teacher. So through that, I dealt with a lot of identity issues, including in dating. There was a long time that I didn't feel good enough because I was only one of a few that were full Caucasian, and of course, that just makes you feel a certain way. So, throughout my young adult life, I had to discover, well, who am I? Because you always get the question, what are you? Especially when people hear me start talking. They're like, you're not quite Caucasian, you're something else. And so, this created a lot of internal battles within myself to understand that I just am who I am. I don't have to be identified necessarily by culture, even though it is a big part of who I am, especially the indigenous part. I've always been very connected in that way. So having all the DNA confirming that it is a big portion of who I am within my own makeup internally, it just confirmed a lot of what I did as a child and how connected I've been in the indigenous culture, and the passion and the love that I have for it. And obviously, my hair. My hair is a big deal to me, culturally, spiritually, all that. So, if you are somebody who struggles with your identity, whether it is by fault of someone else who made you believe that you are something that you're not, or you are struggling within yourself, and it doesn't have to be the same exact way that I did. It might not be culturally for you. It could be just your identity as a human being. Where do you fit in? What are your passions in life? What kind of career do you really fit into? Who should you really be married to? Should you even be married at all? All of those things. A lot of people identify themselves by becoming a parent, and then they lose themselves because they never took the time to identify self. Their identity comes from being a parent, and those children go off to school or leave the house, and all of a sudden they don't know who they are anymore because they never took the time to search themselves as a person, as a human being. So I highly encourage you that if you've not taken time to discover who you are, what your identity is as a human being, please do. Please take that time, whether it means sitting down to read books, watch videos, especially videos like this. There's thousands and thousands of videos out there. Going to see somebody for therapy, for life coaching, for counseling, whatever it might be, to help talk you through and walk you through these processes. Go on vacation to a bunch of different places all over the world, all these different states, countries, islands, and see culture, see what life is really about. Don't get stuck in the community that you were raised in, because you're going to miss out on so much of this world. That was probably the biggest help besides counseling. The biggest help I had is I always traveled. I loved traveling. And by going to all these places all around the world, it taught me how I can just be myself, right? Just be myself. Don't allow anyone to create the identity of who I am. So I know who I am now, and I'm proud of who I am. And I'm not just going to be identified by one thing, okay? I'm proud to be mixed. I'm honored and I'm grateful that I have this cultural mix of who I am, because I can cook a whole bunch of different types of foods, right? I can talk to people of many different cultures. I don't feel isolated, okay? I know who I am in my career. I've always been an educator. I just get to make my own decisions now instead of working in public school. And I pray that for you. I pray that if you are struggling with identity of any kind, that you begin today to do things to discover who you are. Go for walks at the park, or if you live near woods, go near the woods and walk in the woods. And if you live near the beach, go to the beach and just sit and just think deep within yourself. Find who you are. And if you need personal help on this journey or other resources, please inbox me, please text me and let me know. And I'd be happy to give you some guidance, because now I'm on the other side of the crisis. I made it, and you can too. Okay? Love you all. Have a beautiful day.